All right, I'm gonna take a walk and see if I can buy me some candy. But, anyways, we have the BRICS nations. Oh, China, Russia, Brazil, India, and now South Africa. And you have the G7, which includes nations like Japan, Germany, the UK, the US, Canada, and Italy. And then you have NATO. But I'm gonna just say this: this is really about is BRICS is where does the Bible talk about BRICS? Is BRICS the Antichrist system? Because they seem to be rising to dominance right now. I know China's having some issues, but they're doing a lot of smart moves, business-like moves, in a way where they're going to secure their dominance in the world. So does the Bible talk about China? Does it talk about Russia? Does it talk about the United States? Well, I did a couple of videos on that a while ago that shows that the Bible does talk about Russia, China, Great Britain. No, I'm sorry, Russia, Great Britain, and the United States. But in the Bible does, I believe, allude to China, but it doesn't really talk about China outright to me, as far as having a major role in the end time. Now, but it does seem like it talks about Russia. All right, so if you look at Daniel 7 and Daniel 13, it talks about, Daniel 7 talks about bear with ribs in its mouth, and we know Russia breathes flesh in its mouth with 3 ribs, and we know Russia's killed a lot of its own people, and the Russian symbol is the bear. And we see that the lion, the eagle's wings, and the eagle's wings became a separate entity and was given the heart of a man. And we know that Great Britain symbol is the lion, and the United States was symbol is the eagle, and the United States became a separate entity from Britain and once was a part of Great Britain. And all these nations have a major stake in Israel, because most of when the Bible talks about nations, it usually involves, especially in the Old Testament, it talks about nations that really have a direct tie with Israel. Most people think it's Middle East specifically, but not necessarily. It's just it doesn't have to be Middle East to have major ties with the United States. And Germany, it's a leopard. You know, Germany has a leopard tank, and 4 heads represents the rise and fall of Germany's heads represents rise and fall of nations, as alluded to in Revelations in chapter 17 or 18. I'll have the verse up. Anyways, so we see in Revelation 13 it describes a person, and it describes the person as having the body of a leopard, the feet of a bear, the mouth of a lion. Interesting enough, the international language that spoke most around the world is English. Feet of a bear, mouth of a lion, 10 horns is the 10 horn beast. And I believe, if you look at where the Antichrist system is going to derive from, I believe it's going to derive from the Middle East. Because if you look at Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, look at Daniel 2, you see the head of gold, feet of head of gold, then you have the chest of silver, then you have brass and iron, and then iron mixed with clay for the feet. You see that this entity, and then you see parts of that statue reflected in the 4th beast in Daniel 7, which has 1 head and 10 horns, and then eventually it becomes 11 horns with the little horn, up to 3 horns with the eyes and mouth, and speaking great things. This is the system that 10 horn beast with 10 king. The horns represent kings. That the 10 horns that represents those 10 kings I believe is coming out of the Middle East. I think Middle East is going to be the major player. I don't think the BRICS nations is going to be the new world order. I don't believe that. The BRICS nations won't be the new world order. Maybe certain countries in the BRICS nations will be the new world order. I think maybe India may come to prominence, and that might be the tidings that the East that gives the Antichrist problems. India and China and just East Asia in general. In the North, maybe Russia giving him problems. I do believe he aligned with other nations, even though that nations will probably not like him, because the Bible talks about the 10 toes of the beast in Daniel 2 being partially strong and partially broken, because the kingdom will be divided. So, yes, I don't believe China. I think China's alluded to. I do think it's rising to power, but I don't believe it's going to be a main focus of of the Antichrist system. It talks about a 200 million man army in Revelations. It's part of the sixth trumpet war that might happen during the tribulation, but that could come from the Middle East also. That doesn't necessarily have to come from China. And it could involve China. That's another that could involve China, because China did have 200 million. It did boast to be ready to foot a 200 million man army. And I do believe there's going to be a giant war with China that's going to kill a third of the people, because a war that's going to kill a third of the people is going to involve China and probably India. But I don't really think it's going to be part of the I don't really think it's going to be a major part of the Antichrist system. I think it's going to probably be maybe giving it problems, and maybe it has a hand in the war of Armageddon, but not necessarily. And it might have some totalitarian issues of its own, but it won't be necessarily part of the Antichrist system. I don't really think. I think they're just going to be looking at the Middle East like they're crazy. That's just my speculation, because I think there's going to be more than one deception in the end times, because the Bible talked about in Matthew 24 that there'll be many false Christs that will rise. All right, and it talked about that after the abomination of desolation was revealed. So that's just my assessment of the whole Antichrist thing as far as China is concerned. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, where I talk about things about prophecy and in the news. But yeah, that's me. That's what I believe about China and BRICS and things of this nature. That's all I really have to say. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Peace.